All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Topics with Mr. Javadi. And we are in Denver. We're in a neighborhood that makes you feel like you've gone to Paris or something. I mean, it is beautiful out there. I feel so important having just been walking through here. Well, we've stepped into a place that's kind of a legend of a place. It's the Denver Folklore Center, and I'm with Ian D., the owner of the place. And Ian, first of all, hello and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, you bet. And then secondly, why don't you just fill us in about the history of the place? Sounds like you've got quite a history.
Well, we certainly do.
Yeah.
We're Denver's oldest guitar shop.
Yeah.
The Folklore Center was originally founded in 1962 by this gentleman, Harry Tuft, our founder. He came out here from Philadelphia in the late 50s.
Wow.
And was very deep into the folk music scene. And he had been to the original Folklore Center in Greenwich Village, New York, which is where Bob Dylan played his first New York show. Long history there.
Yeah.
And Harry wanted to bring that concept out to Denver. So we started on Pearl and 17th Avenue, and Harry rented a storefront, started finding suppliers, and started the first acoustic music shop here. We started having, this was during the folk craze of the 60s, and so we started having some very big name players come through. Flatt and Scruggs, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, Taj Mahal, and a lot of blues players, Mississippi John Hurt. And at the time, Denver didn't have a folk club, nowhere to hear folk music get played. And Bob Dylan and Joan Baez, the story goes, they were talking to Harry one time about this and saying how they couldn't make any money in Denver. And so Harry rented a small concert hall next door and founded what would become Swallow Hill Music, which is now Denver's oldest and largest music school. Big nonprofit music school just up the street. We're still closely affiliated with them, although they went nonprofit back in the 80s, and we stayed in the for-profit game. But so Harry owned the store up until 2016.
2016, yeah.
And by that point, he would have been coming up on 80 years old.
Yeah.
And so he decided he wanted to sell the store and approached his friend Saul Rosenthal about it.
Right.
Saul found some other interested parties, and they all collectively purchased the store from Harry. So Saul and his partner Claude bought the store and carried us through until 2023.
Wow.
So they carried us through COVID. You know, we had it was a strange time for everybody, but it was a very strange time for the music business because everybody was stuck inside. Didn't want to stare at screens more, so a lot of people came back to this kind of music during COVID. But eventually they decided also that they wanted to retire, and I was the manager at the store at the time, and they approached me about buying it in 2022, and we closed the deal in 2023, so now here we are in 25, and I've owned the store for just over 2 years.
Now, did you just hear all of that? That's a lot to take in. When I was in Paris, I was there one time. I drive up in a taxi, we pull up, and I look to my right, and it's the Eiffel Tower. And I look at the Eiffel Tower, and I say, is that really you? And did you just hear all those big names? It's kind of like that Eiffel Tower experience. I mean, it went by me like it's like the regular routine, but did you just hear those big names? And the other big story in this story is, I don't think you're that old of a man and you're owning this store.
I just turned 40.
40 years old, and he owns this legend of a store. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
That's an American story right there. We'll have to follow up on that later on.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That is awesome. Famous names connected to the place. You just mentioned some of them. I mean, there's a whole book of them.
There's a whole book of them.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the folk music people. There's a very famous bluegrass band called Hot Rise. They all came from this area, and almost all of Hot Rise worked in this store at one time or another.
Wow.
Legendary banjo player Nick Forster, Charles Sawtell. We've had a lot of extremely big names in this very small community. You know, folk music, acoustic music. It's not filling stadiums, you know, all the time. But among the people that love this music, we get some of the biggest names out there.
And I heard on the phone earlier on you were talking about Joan Baez and people like that. I mean,
you know, Utah Phillips, Pete Seeger, some of these extremely important foundational members of the folk music community.
Mm-hmm. You have, as I was studying a little bit prior to coming, you have a concert program here. Or at least you did.
We did.
So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, back in the old days when we had a little more space, Harry would put on a number of shows here, especially after he rented the Swallow Hill Music concert venue. So here is, let me see if I can find it. There it is. Here's an example of one of our old concert programs.
Wow.
This was, I think, the second concert that Harry ever put on with Ravi Shankar touring the United States.
Wow.
Obviously, Ravi Shankar now considered, you know, maybe the virtuosic player of the sitar. And at the time, he was brand new to the Western audience. But if you look at some of the other players that played here, we can see Ian and Sylvia, famous folk duo, Flat and Scruggs, some of the fathers of bluegrass, Judy Collins, huge name in the folk community. Everybody's been through here at some point, and we still have a lot of these big name players come through. You know, the names have changed, but the touring acts are still looking for some good place to look at instruments.
So that's still continuing.
Yes, absolutely.
Visitations and so on. That is.
We have good relationships with a lot of bands that come through. Local acts like Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. It's always cool seeing who will come through the door.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Okay, question number 4 is the lesson and the teaching. I noticed that you were doing that with.
We did that again when we had a little more space. Since Swallow Hill Music became an independent organization, we've largely moved students over to them. We still have a really good number of, you know, private teachers that we recommend to people. We try and vet our teachers very carefully because anyone can say they teach guitar, but we like the people that know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But Swallow Hill Music does a great job for almost any player of almost any instrument.
So if I'm looking for a guitar lesson, or a young person is looking for a guitar lesson, they can ask you at least. And
absolutely.
You can be a guide for them.
We certainly can. Yeah. We also have a great selection of books, learning materials, and, you know, the expertise of the staff is nothing to ignore.
Yes.
The staff it's a small place, you know. It's me, 3 employees, and then our repair person, John Rumley, who's been with us for 31, 32 years.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yes, he does some great work.
Yeah. Before taping started, I noticed you had a customer for repair purposes.
Yes.
And so you want to talk a little bit about the repair and the maintenance aspect of this place?
Yeah. You know, acoustic instruments in Colorado can have a hard time. Colorado is a very dry climate, and most of these instruments that you see are made with some tropical woods. They have a very high moisture content, and the dry climate of Colorado doesn't agree with them very well. So we have a full-service luthier shop downstairs here on site, where we do repairs on acoustic guitars, electrics, banjos, mandolins, just about anything with a string on it. We do a lot of smaller work here at our upstairs bench, but for the heavy-duty work, we send it down to John, and he can fix just about anything.
And you're not from... Howard was taking some pictures earlier, and we've been looking, of course, with your blessing, we want to do a little bit more tape shooting a little bit later on, because it's just fascinating just to look at the place. But it's mostly just acoustic instruments, right? You're not into electric, right? Or,
Plenty of what we sell has electronics built in, but yeah, we specialize in acoustic instruments. There's very few shops in the country that specifically focus on this kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you're getting into some of the higher dollar or more vintage instruments,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just go to any old shop and see, a 75-year-old Martin guitar, or find some, little-known maker of gourd banjos. It takes a dedicated shop and some staff with some expertise in that. And so we are, my staff, we have some extremely knowledgeable and excellent players, but really the expertise and the knowledge is what makes us stand out. I think.
Well, and just to share with the audience a little bit before the show, I heard you play, and boy, you sound pretty good.
Well, thanks. I'm no professional, but I do love it.
Yeah, it sounded wonderful.
You don't have to be a pro player to love the instruments.
Yeah.
And I love the instruments.
Okay, talk to me about the local talent connection, because there's a whole treasure of that out this way, from what I understand.
There certainly is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Colorado, as a whole, has a great music community. Obviously, with festivals like the Telluride Bluegrass Fest,
yes.
Blues and Brews.
Right.
On this side of the mountains, you've got Rocky Grass and the Colorado Folk Festival. These are really big draws that bring a lot of people into the state. Also, Red Rocks Amphitheater, that's one of the best-known concert venues in the country.
It is.
And so we have a pretty non-stop supply of great musicians coming through here, moving here, and we generate a lot of great musicians of our own.
Yeah.
The store has a lot of really good sort of friends of the store. Players like Nick Clark is a great blues player here in town, professional harmonica player. Summers Baker and his band Meadow Mountain. Just a real wealth of talent and great people too.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt that Colorado also has, if you're into acoustic music, folk music, bluegrass, Celtic music, you can find a jam or an open mic for that kind of music every night of the week here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Places like Fort Collins and
absolutely,
other, Boulder and other places. So, thank you so much. Yeah, that local talent is a very impressive aspect, I think, to a lot of people.
Absolutely,
because it's absolutely significant.
It really helps inspire you to see what other people can do with these instruments.
Talk to me a little bit about the marketing aspect of the place, because for those listening, it's not that easy to run a store like this. So you want
to
so you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I always like to tell people, since I bought the business, I know how to sell guitars. Mm-hmm. I know how to sell banjos. That's easy. Mm-hmm. Running a business is a different animal.
You bet.
And marketing is a huge part of that, especially for a small shop. We don't have the marketing budget or the name recognition of a Guitar Center or some of those bigger chains. Mm-hmm. But so we have to get creative, and so we have obviously we have a very active social media platform. Instagram videos, YouTube videos, demo videos where we play the instruments at the people and let them hear it, or sometimes just comparison videos where we'll talk about some of the differences between one brand to another. We also have started to branch out and try and make some inroads into like the wider musical community. Mm-hmm. So last year we collaborated with Swallow Hill Music and some other local musicians to put on Denver's first Banjo Fest.
Oh, wow.
And that was a great time. We had hundreds, I think, of banjo players from all around the state come in, and we brought in some professional players to give classes and a concert. So we had Tony Trishka playing three-finger bluegrass. We had Brad Kolodner on clawhammer. And Dom Flemons was there to talk about the history of the banjo and its roots in American slavery. And then after that, they gave classes. They did the whole meet and greet, and then did a concert later, which was amazing. And we were there all day. We had a booth with banjos for sale, books, accessories, just everything players could need. And we're really looking forward to the idea we can do that again.
That's fantastic. I mean, the way you describe that and the reality of it, the teaching, the history, I mean, it's like a treasury of so many wonderful things. It's fantastic when it comes to this type of music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's, people think of it as old style music, but really the players just keep getting younger and the talent just keeps getting better and better. So it's not going anywhere.
Well, I taught for 30 years myself before trying my hand on YouTubing, and so naturally in the back of my head I'm always thinking of the kids. So if the kids are thinking about, as they watch this, they're thinking about going into this business, whether that's as a musician or, let's say, as a store owner like yourself, you kind of touched on that a little bit, but what's your advice to them if they're thinking about, they're in high school, they're thinking about doing something like this?
I would say play as much as possible, play as widely as possible, try not to limit yourself to one style. You never know what's going to inspire you next. And play with as many people as possible. There is no faster way to learn and to get better than to play with other people. We all have to start somewhere, but if you're just all right with sounding bad for a little while, eventually you'll be pretty okay at this.
No, that's great. On your website, you have links and things like that?
Absolutely.
Related to this?
Yeah.
So, and your website is?
DenverFolklore.com.
DenverFolklore.com, okay.
And you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on YouTube. We also put out a newsletter as often as I remember to write it, which is about every other month. But we try and stay on top of that.
Well, that sounds fantastic. So if folks want to reach you, the web is probably the most
Web is a great way, and
Yeah.
we're open 7 days a week. They can
Yeah.
come down anytime. I'm here 6 days a week, and I'm always happy to talk to them.
And just out of personal experience, before I thank you for the wrap-up of the show, you guys have tremendous public relations skills. Just fantastic.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
And, anytime I've called, they've been very generous with their time and their answers. And so I second that opinion right there. And I don't think it's an opinion, it's reality.
Well, great.
So thank you very much, Ian. Really thank you for the time. We're going to just take a little bit from the store and
Sure thing.
wrap up. Thanks very much.